Hey, I figured I'd do another vlog entry while I'm here on a few prep things for the Civic before we dive into the turbo parts. So I'll show you up close and personal with some of the smaller things to make the install easier for the custom stuff that's going on. So first I need to get up in the air. We installed a new lift last weekend, so it'll make it super helpful. I've been debating for quite a while about what type of lift and where to get it from and all that, so I finally bit the bullet. Bought it, and Zach and I came in and put it up last week. So let me get this car up, and I'll show you what's up under the car. Now it's got the old tried and true, welded all up as one piece, cat delete, 2 1/4 inch crush bent exhaust on it, which isn't a big deal. I'm gonna get the hacksaw out and cut it off because they deleted the flanges, so it's all one piece. But I got to get that off so I can get the shift linkage out, and then basically I'll be finished under the car, so I can get back to doing the fun stuff of the swap. Which, like I said, I got this motor from H Motors, and as usual, it came in good shape. It's clean. I've already put the clutch in, so that's a plus. So once I get the exhaust out and the shift link is dropped, I'll get it back down and show you some of the highlights on the back of the block and the front of the block that I did to get it ready for the turbo setup. Actually, I got it up and unbolted the shift linkage to drop it off and realized I forgot to take the shift knob off the shifter. So we'll get this thing back down. Unscrew the shift knob, and the shift linkage should drop and hit the floor, and I'll be done. I didn't cut the exhaust off because the linkage came off so easily, so I'll cut that off later when maybe I'll address building the 3-inch exhaust that's going to go in the car. This lift is super handy, I guess, as any lift would be, but it has made this task very easy. I'm not on my back and I'm not dirty, so it's a win-win situation right there. But yeah, I'll get this shift knob off and then drag this linkage out from under the car. Now I've got the linkage off, but one thing I want to point out was this is a power steering car that I'm going to delete the power steering on, but I don't want to do just loop it off like most people do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build 2 new lines and a reservoir to hold the fluid. That way it keeps the power steering, without a pump, but it's still working pretty well, easy to turn, with no speed. So yeah, it's just one thing. But I got the little linkage off, had a little eBay shifter on it where the threads pulled out on it, but it's not going back in the car anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I'll get this back down one more time and show you a few things on the motor. Okay, we're back at the back of the block now. There's several reasons to just take off the intake manifold when doing the swap. First, the easiest thing is pull it off because you have easy access to the rear motor mount, so it makes pulling and reinstalling the motor very simple. When you don't have to fight around the manifold, you can just drop it on the back bracket on the mount and line the bolt up pretty easily. But aside from that, I went ahead and installed a pair of our block plugs. I pulled the factory fittings out, installed those 2, which is way easier to do it outside of the car or with the manifold off. Either way, when you're trying to fight in that tight space with the Allen bolt, it can be a pain. So I went in and installed those. Those will help vent the crankcase pressure going to the catch can. I also installed the block plug down at the bottom, which if you have an OBD2 B series motor, you may only have one of these in the plug, but some have 1, some have 2. And also went in and installed the sandwich, it's not completely installed, but put in place a sandwich plate adapter so I can go ahead and build the oil feed line. And like I said in the last video, I'm using the Golden Eagle plate. It's going to feed filtered oil out to the turbo. I'm going to cap this one off because I'm not going to use it. If you're doing like a LS VTEC setup, you can use this port to feed the side of the head, which this is a VTEC motor already, so that's unneeded. And the other thing was I wanted to get the manifold off to go ahead and clean and prep the intake manifold surface. This motor had never been apart, so once you pull the manifold, the intake gasket comes off in 100 different pieces. So you have to clean it, get it prepped, because it's also getting the thermal Golden Eagle intake manifold gasket to help separate the manifold and keep heat down, or radiant heat rather. But all that's beneficial and easy to do when the manifold's off the car. So yeah, as far as the back of the block, that's it. On the firewall, I may wait till next time to show that, how I'm running the 2 lines for the power steering, and also converting the hard lines for the E85 setup. But I also got the one plug on the front of the block. I'll show you that. It's the coolant plug, because I am using a ball bearing turbo that's oil and water cooled. I'm going to return back to the front of the block. Actually, it's going to feed from the front of the block and return to one of our GT radiators with the feed at the bottom. So it's dash 6 coming out the block and dash 6 going to the bottom of the radiator. And this is the front water port. It's going to come out this port to the turbo, and out the turbo back down to the radiator. So it's going to keep the lines, short and sweet. Usually, or like a lot of our mail order ball bearing kits, I supply a feed kit that routes from the turbo over to the upper water neck outlet, and then a weld fitting for the back of the block to the water pipe. That's another simple and permanent way to install it that's leak free. But to keep it short, and when you have space to do it, doing it from the front of the block to the turbo and turbo to the radiator is a real simple, short lines, and it keeps it out the way. That's about it. I'll try to keep these videos short, to the point, so it doesn't bore you to death with little things. But I forgot, prep the manifold surface as well. I'm going to go ahead and get this ready to start doing the fuel setup, and I'll do that on the next video as well. I'll go over everything I'm going to do to the fuel to convert the car to E85, the injectors, prep the manifold, because I'm going to use the stock intake manifold, but I am changing the injectors, the fuel rail, the fuel filter, and the regulator. So yeah, if there's something else you want to see, let me know. Put it in the comments. I'll try to address it and show it in detail. But thanks.